Now bring in our Latin America correspondent, Damien Pashter, who is, of course, originally from Argentina. And Damien, such shock in the sporting world and around the globe. The pride, of course, of Argentina. Let's start with Diego Maradona's soccer career. Truly one of the greatest of all time.
Indeed, Benita. Very sad news coming from Argentina. Diego was, like you mentioned, he was a great soccer player, but he was a myth. He was a legend. In the soccer playing mode, in the soccer world, he always was kind of related with the most poor teams. He was kind of the one who played for the poor. And with the years, he managed to develop that kind of myth into a total legend level. For example, when Argentina, one of his first transfers was for Italy, where he played for Napoli. Napoli was the southern, the poorer town, the pride. And with his help alone, they took the championship of Italy, winning all the rich teams of the north. So with the years, as long as Maradona continued to conquer more and more victories, also like you mentioned before, the 1986 World Cup, it has become a legend, a global legend. And before Messi, before Ronaldo, Diego was the first. He was like a combination of a mega star, a mega soccer player with, let's say, the Beatles. It was a mix of the two of them. And what he did outside the country, outside the court, didn't reflect what he did in the court. In the court, he had no contest. He was the #1 player of the world. And until this day, even there's another Argentinian that's trying to follow his steps. It's very hard to be like Diego Maradona. There could only be one.
He certainly was one of a kind, Damien. Of course, in his later years, he'd been battling health issues, stories of problems as well with addictions and scandals. It hadn't been an easy road for him.
Never, never. Even speaking from a personal point of view, I remember 2 years I was younger that Maradona didn't have some kind of health issue, mainly after retired in the middle of the 90s. Every 2 years he had some kind of drug addiction problem, drinking problems, another lot of personal problems in the sense of every year he has another stone that was discovered in some corner of the world, whether it was in Italy, where it was in Argentina, but mainly his health was what defined the post-career Diego Maradona. Every year, every 2 years, he had some kind of drug problem. But we, as Argentinians, we were used that the guy, after a few bad days, he would come back on his feet, and he kind of was immortal for all the Argentinians. We really didn't expect that he would die, and especially nothing that has or was related with drugs that could actually put him down. That's why it's so shocking also.
And so many children around the world grew up watching him, wanting to be like him. Talk to us a bit about the legacy he leaves. All the footage we're looking at right now, such a charismatic personality, smiling, clapping, motivating others. Tell us more about what it means for Argentina specifically, this massive loss of the sporting hero.
It's a good question, Benita. Maradona, I don't think there's anybody in Argentine history that has even closer to the level of popularity, love, and also polarization that Maradona carried, that Maradona impact on the people. Even the Pope, for example, he's also Argentinian. He's not as famous as Diego Armando Maradona. Maradona was one of a kind. It's very hard to express how his figure is reflected in Argentina. He's more than, for sure, any political figure in the modern history of Argentina. Any TV person that you might not heard or not heard, Maradona was on completely another level. He was also very politically involved in the sense that he was all the time standing for those who supposedly were the less powerful economically. He had a lot of ties with the left side of the political spectrum. he was mainly identified with the Cuban dictatorship of Fidel and Raúl Castro. He was a personal friend of Fidel. He was a personal friend of Hugo Chavez. And this can also reflect what kind of activities in the political area he was engaging on. He was always on the left side, and he was always loved and hated for that.
And Damien, talking about this, as you say, warm personality and also conflicting personality, polarizing, as you put it, how does a country go about mourning and paying tribute to a personality like this? Obviously, this news only came through a short while ago. We're already hearing, though, that Argentina will have 3 days of mourning for Diego Maradona. Talk us through how the country is likely to pay tribute and make sure that the memory of Diego Maradona lives on.
I think I won't be surprised during the next hours. We're going to see, if we follow the Argentine news, people just leaving the works, managers letting the workers and the employees the day off, because that's how big Maradona was, and that's how much he means to the Argentine people. It's a loss that's going to take a lot of days, a lot of time to recover and to process. It's an iconic figure that has nobody like him. Therefore, we're going to see a lot of tributes during the next days. For sure, political statements from the local politicians. The president already expressed that he's completely in shock. And I guess during the next days, we're going to see more and more tributes, maybe, of course, some kind of soccer game, soccer match in his memory. But it's still, like you mentioned, it's still too early. I think even myself, we're trying to process what just happened, and it took us completely by surprise, because if you remember, on November 4, Maradona was hospitalized in Argentina for an head hematoma, which he, again, managed to overcome without difficulties. And that's why also it's so surprising that a week after, a little bit more, 20 days after, he suddenly died from a heart attack without any specific reason. I think his body was just tired and old, in the sense of all what he's been through for these years.
Right. As you say, a tragic day for the sporting world and for people, of course, around the globe. Thank you so much, Latin American correspondent Damien Pashto. We appreciate your insight.